Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to the next part of the Yoshitaka Amano mobile platform project, where, as you can see, last time we kind of did a lot of these front legs, got them kind of glued together, and popped in. They're good to go. This is actually starting to look kind of cool. I'm liking this whole effect. Come around, you can see it has that nice little kind of walking feel to it, a little bit of whimsy going on. It is definitely missing now something mid himself up here. Now it feels like he needs to go in, but that's going to be another sessions situation. For right now, just what we did kind of on the front here, I'm going to do that kind of on the back. So we have two choices we can do on these back legs. I can either work on the feet, get this part up, in, and down, or I can bring this into the base just like I have this side. And I think I want to do the base first and get this in, and then I can really kind of carve out the directionality I want the foot facing when I get it in there. So we're going to do this piece that comes across in here. And this is going to be either really easy or it is going to be massive jerks. And I'm not sure which one it's going to be. So if we take this and kind of zoom in, you can see on the side over here, it's not really depicted as a solid entity. Instead, what they have is this comes up into like a number of kind of almost wires that come up into this, like a half a dozen or 4 or 5 different wires that kind of come up, and that's kind of what holds in. It's kind of a big airy structure. Well, considering my weight is right down here, I don't want to do that, so we're not gonna do that. Instead, what we have is we did carve out this piece last session, which, if you remember, we took rather than cut a sphere in half, we just carved the top of a cylinder. I just cut that off. We're going to use this as our base that gets popped up into here. And then from that, I've pre-cut, let me make sure I have the right ones. Yeah. I pre-cut a couple dowels. We're going to send this through. This is going to go through this in the middle and kind of up into here, just like I have in the front. And then that's going to come down into this. So we're going to have a solid piece in the middle that can take the weight that we're doing. And then from that, I can put in a couple little kind of wiry, spindly things along the outside. But those little wiry spindly aren't going to take the weight. Instead, this 1/4 inch dowel here, this is what's going to take the weight for the thing. I wasn't sure if it was going to be big enough, but at this scale, at this size, what's going to be visible, this is going to be plenty strong. So that's going to be our game plan for this. So first thing we have to do is get this stuff off of here, because it is very precariously balanced, and the globe is going to destroy anything if it decides it wants to roll over. So I've decided that I don't want it to roll over, so we're just going to get you out, because again, the globe itself has about, I don't know, maybe 2 pounds or so of weight. So at this scale of things, it weighs a lot compared to the rest of this stuff. The rest of these are just a couple ounces for the rest of it. So that thing has some stuff going on. So as we can see, we are connected. Now, I didn't glue these things in here. That's just friction holding them on. Friction holds this one on really good. This one will be glued eventually, once I determine that I don't want to do any more kind of augments down here, because if I want to sand things right now, it's so much easier to sand things or keep sanding things without the legs in place. And actually, they're probably not going to be hard installed until I finally carve down this. Thankfully, we only look at one side. This is going to be facing a wall in the end, but I still need to actually do it. Might be good. So let's kind of get ourselves into my usual kind of situation here. Bring you up a little bit, bring that down. Hopefully this is angling kind of there. Okay, I think we're gonna actually be on camera this time. I haven't rewatched the previous video, but I just have this feeling I wasn't fully on camera last time for everything. And once again, I'm just gonna clamp these together in case when I drill this thing, I need to go through a bunch of stuff. So if we look at it, I'm going to need this to kind of hook in. Whoop, we're facing kind of that way. somewhere along the back edge here is where it kind of looks like it sits down. So I just want to make sure I make a little platform here for it to actually sit in. So I can take that, smooth that down, so we actually have a spot where it can go. And if I'm doing one on one side, I might as well do the same thing on the other side. I can take that, carve it down. I may only get one side done today, but at least we'll have a place where we can stick both those. So right now, we're kind of carved down a little bit. I just want to smooth it out so this has a flat spot to go onto. So once again, we bring out our friend the Dremel. And all it is just flattening this out. Nothing more than that. Just flattening it out. Let's do the other side as well. Yeah, I have a feeling this place is going to be either really, really easy, or it is not going to want to go at all. So, hoping it's the former, not the latter. Okay, so with that now flattened, this here has a place to actually attach itself to. Now, I don't want to glue this thing in place, because at the end of the day, this will be attached to this whole kind of setup. So I'm going to have, just like the front ones in here, I'm going to have the entirety of the leg with just this thing kind of whoop, sticking through. So now we need to drill this thing down. And the good part on this is, I believe I go, do I go straight down? There's the question. If I'm looking at this, it's kind of a little bit at an angle going in. So this will be, where is my drilling platform? I kind of want to put this thing down here. So if I drill down into something, I'm drilling into this and not the table, not this, not anything that I don't want to drill down into. You're not going to be able to hold anything. Yeah, I don't trust that to hold anything. Do I have anything that can hold that? This is part of the problem with working at scale, is just finding ways to hold things. If I have you on here, that kind of works. And then we can do our drilly thing. We are actually on camera. Okay, so I'm going to do the same as last time. I'm going to start with the smaller bit and work my way towards a bigger one. And let me just double check. This is a 1/4 inch dowel that we're dealing with. Where are you? Yes, we are a 1/4 inch dowel. They could have made that much easier to read than they did. Whoop. Time to make some magic happen. We're 9 minutes in. Oh, jeez. Okay, so we actually want to be slightly angled. Come on, get in there. Again, we start perpendicular to. And come down. That did its job. Thankfully, we're not drilling through much right here, so that helps a little bit. And we threw. We got a little hole. Okay. We have started to make the magic happen. Where do I put this stuff? I have too many things and not enough space to stick it all. Okay, so that's going to go in there. And ultimately then we're going to hook this in here. We can glue this onto the dowel, and then we'll just keep this part loose so I can kind of shove it up into that guy. So from there, we would like to get this in here nicely. Now this may or may not be on camera super well, because I need to see what I'm doing in the process. And I do have some playroom on how vertical or not vertical I want this to go here. And it looks like if I'm following the image on the side, we want to be something kind of like that. We are sticking out a little ways on this. So if I'm going to be there, I'm going to pull that out. All I'm doing is getting a pencil. I am penciling the ever-loving heck out of that. And I'm going to whoop. So if I'm on here, I now have a mark on the side, which is the direction I want the drill bit to go when I'm drilling down into that hole, which we can see is so nicely marked. Because if I don't need to wiggle this thing a little bit in the end, it's going to make for a tighter connection, which means I will still glue it in the end, but at least it'll hold itself a little better without that. Okay, this kind of is a little bit perpendicular to here. Okay, so we're kind of going in now. Side to side is kind of a guess. Okay, we're in there. Hopefully in more ways than one. Oh, hopefully in more ways than one. We are in there. This is the real carpentry stuff. Alright, shall we see how he did? Moment of truth. If I bring you in here, what direction is this actually going? Okay, so you went in there. That sticks in. Legs actually, we are splayed out just a little bit. I think that's okay. We come down. If I'm looking at that, that's actually not too bad. Now is where I'm going to need a little bit of, probably don't need that anymore. I really don't need the top. Okay. So we have more material here than I need, which is okay. I can always cut that down a little bit. I had planned on this going, I believe, further up than it ultimately does. Which is fine. I would rather have too much. Actually, I'd cut two that were a little bit smaller. I can actually use those maybe. So if you go there, that's down. So that's now just off the ground, which is a little better. And if I just want to put you on here just to make sure we're still sitting flush with that, even if I put you can't see the leg. But this one at least sits in nicely. The other one's a little more wobbly, but this is going to make for a good platform. Now, on the drawing here, I had debated whether or not to have this knee on the ground or this one up off the ground and have the foot kind of. This is a really bad position to be trying to describe all this stuff with. Give me 1 second. the other leg in here. Okay, so if we come back to this kind of view, I had debated whether or not to have this, the back knee 100% needs to be on the ground because the foot is in the air. If we don't do that, this whole thing is going to flop over that direction. This one, technically, we could have the knee in the air a little bit, then the foot come down, but that's going to be putting a lot of pressure on a lot of different joints back here. And just in case something happens, I think I'm going to keep this knee sitting on the ground as well. So I'm going to carve a hole into this, and then we may need to trim this a little bit to kind of get to where we need it to be to make this work. But so far, so good. Okay, getting ourselves kind of back over here. So what I want is the awesome fact that this thing can kind of hold itself up at this point, which is super cool. Except this one knee, or that one leg just kind of doesn't. And let's keep putting this thing back here just so I have the top there where I need it to be. Can I stick you on the ground and not necessarily on the table for this? Actually, yeah, that is the max length this thing goes up, and it just kind of works to see what we're doing. At least for this one section. So, those legs are where they want. So now I just need to know what angle, where do I want this thing to attach, and then what angle do we actually attach it. That one's the other legs. I had designated certain areas to be front, back, sideways, other. Okay, so if you go there, what kind of angle does that leg go in? I need to move my image over just slightly. I need to move my other image, my computer, over just slightly so I can see kind of what I want. Okay, so in the end, we're going to want this to be up a little ways. You're going to be coming down. So we're going to hit somewhere like this. Actually, having this slightly at an angle isn't a bad thing, because it shows the leg is bent. So I can do that, and that should be fine over here. Okay, so it's going to be same as every other time I've done this. We're going to find my drill bit. Alright, we are 18 minutes in. I think we're just going to wind up doing the one leg, and that's probably going to be it for this session. Okay, let's do what we always do. We kind of, I know you can't see it because my hand is right there. Once again, to get this started, we go perpendicular to whatever surface we're doing. Once we get a start, then we can kind of go up and down. But realistically, we kind of want this to aim towards the middle. Okay, so we have a little hole in there. Let's turn it into a little bigger hole. See how well the dowel fits in there, and then trim the dowel as need be to get this to work. Once again, we are trying to hold a small piece while drilling. Actually, I think the hands are going to end up being best. If the drill bit gets stuck, you know what? I'm going to do multiple sizes on this. Just because it's a smaller piece, I don't want the individual flutes on this getting stuck on something. So let's go and do... Okay, so that goes in. So we now have a slightly bigger hole in there. And now it's time for, I think, the real size. I think now we're close enough that the flutes won't get stuck in. If you remember when I was kind of drilling the legs down here, some of the flutes on this, because I went one size kind of bigger than I needed to, they got stuck and everything. We start doing that. We don't want to do that. That's bad. Okay. All right. We're going to drop 2 sizes down. We're going to do a 4th one. This will actually be number 3, then the 4th one will be the real one. But I thought we were close enough. Okay. Maybe now we can do the real size. That was 1/32 smaller than we needed. So, we should be good this time. Come on, hands. Once it does get stuck, I reverse the direction and try to pull it out. I don't try to keep pushing it in. If it doesn't want to go, it doesn't want to go. Okay, so now we have a big hole in there. Hopefully that's it for the drill on this part. Would be nice. Okay, so we have that in. It fits. We are good. Only thing that doesn't really work is, as you can see underneath, we have a gap down there, which means we're sitting a little high. So now we can go and kind of play this off a little bit. Now this guy's going to come. Ultimately, you're going to wind up coming up here. You're going to kind of come in this way, and then our leg is going to go across from there. But okay, we're getting somewhere. I can pull you out. This didn't move, so what I want to do now is I want to trace where the dowel winds up on here. So if I need to push this thing up here, glue things together. Actually, there's no real reason not to glue this thing on here at this point. So before things get moved around, let's just go ahead and do that. That's going to wind up sinking in there a little bit. That'll be fine. I can always glue this thing a little bit nicer later, but at least that gets the start. It'll kind of hold it together for today's purposes. 23 minutes. Yeah. Where are you? You're over here. Okay, so with that, you're going to come in here, and we're going to want this to be a little bit shorter. I can just keep sanding this down until it kind of feels right. So we're going to have just a little bit of back and forth going on now. Now I do want to keep that leg up in here, because we are basing everything now off of this. Where are you? There you are. Okay, so that's there. That's off the ground. That foot is there. Oh, I'm looking forward to actually gluing that one in, so I'll need to keep putting the little block underneath it. Alright, if we attach you, how's that? We are still definitely up. So I'm gonna need this to be actually quite a bit smaller. So we're gonna need you, camera. I think I put it down on top of my drill. So we need that to go down actually quite a bit. which we can do. So let's see, maybe this time I'm just going to go set a target on what I'm aiming for. So we're going to aim kind of for that line and then retry again. And we're just kind of playing things by feel, seeing what kind of feels right, and then going from there. Okay, so you're in, that's in. Let's get that leg in, that leg's down. We're getting closer, still not quite there yet. You see we're still up just a little bit, so we're not, haven't quite hit our go point here, but we're getting closer. Let's see, a little bit. Once again, I'm just putting a pencil mark on here where I want to kind of get to, and then we'll drill down, Dremel down to that pencil point. Just taking things one step at a time, that's it. Nice thing is, if I can get this one going correctly on camera, in theory, the other leg becomes a little bit easier when I do that one later on, because then I have kind of a blueprint of what I'm doing after doing this one here. That's there, that's there. That's actually not too bad. We're still up slightly. That's really not bad. Looking at the image, there really isn't that much of this leg that shows in that image, so that part's kind of okay. But oh, I do like how I don't need, or after this thing's done, I'm not going to need this at all. It will just kind of hold itself. That's going to be fantastic, but you know, let me just do just a little bit more. We're going to get this thing actually level. Is that even all the way in here? Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. All right, a little bit more, not much. And then I kind of do just a little kind of bevel, just a slight bevel on the edge so it actually goes into this. Otherwise, if I don't do the bevel, it can become a little more frustrating. Okay, so once again, that's in there, that leg's up, that leg's down, feet are holding, you're in here, and you knocked over. That's like a millimeter above. So you know what? I think we're good. I think I'm good on that. It's like a millimeter off. That's okay. You can come in. Even if I take that off, it is now self-supporting. There is nothing else under here. We have legs, leg, or knee. So we are technically now self-supporting. That is real progress right there. That is real progress. We like that. So now, time to, I can glue this piece into that, and then we go ahead and start seeing how we can detail this thing out so it kind of approximates what's going on in there. How do I want to go about doing that? That's going to be the real question. Because when we look at that image, let me go and slide it over a little bit more. Get on the computer here. Let me slide my image over just a little bit. It looks like they're not necessarily straight lines, they're kind of like a little arc, a little arc, a little arc. So it looks like you want to have a little bit of an arc going on this, but we also want it to be really thin. So I can do that, maybe. Now let's get ourselves kind of back into a more normal situation. I feel better this way. Oh, this thing feels so good that it's actually holding itself. This makes moving things around and all that so much easier. I can just pick it up now and it's done. Good. It's in. So I can turn this and kind of make it skinnier and give it an arc. So let's see. Alright, so you should be able to see how this is working out real soon. You see we're already kind of looking like it's bent over a little bit. That's kind of what we're going for. Now we do need this to be kind of skinny. So just kind of skinnying it up a little bit. Now I don't know how long this is going to be per se, just kind of guessing right now, but you can. Why am I so far up? Thought I had moved this thing down. Sorry about that. Alright. As we can see, we now have a little bit of an arced piece on there. I can just chop that off, and that'll give us. I can then put that in and have just a little bit of an arc piece that kind of comes into here. So let's do that. I could probably knife this thing off, but I think this might be the safer way to do it. And we're going to find out that was probably way too short. Okay, I don't need the legs at this point. The legs did their job before. I really, really don't need them now. And if we come in, have a little bit of shaping involved, but that will give us what we're looking for on this. Let's see. That's going to go in there. Where do I want this one to go from and to? Let's start you on the bottom here. So it looks like I'm coming from... Where where is this camera even facing? So I think it's something like this. And have you come up and in. But actually, I do kind of need to glue this into place. Because reasons. The glue is going to kind of sink into the holes and kind of the gaps in there. It's like I said, it's not a super tight fit at the cap. This glue has been pretty good so far. I think my previous tube just hardened up like instantly. This one has been a gift that keeps on giving. So, not upset about that. You come in, you're facing outward a little bit, that's fine. Just gonna give I'm just giving a little bit of an indentation there so that this has something to kind of start at and go to. Okay. Do I have tweezers? Yes, I do. Of course I have tweezers. I'm actually using tweezers. This is... You don't understand how not normal that is for me. Okay, so I need to kind of get this in. Yeah, this is going to be one of those that's going to take a number of tries before it gets right and actually holds. But once it does hold, it's going to be there for life kind of deal. We're going to be doing essentially a couple of those guys on here. And while that's doing its thing, I'm just going to keep on keeping on. Okay, we can do another one of these. I probably want to put a cap on this. I see the time we're at. I want to get a couple more of these things on here just so you can kind of get the profile of what it looks like. And yeah, I'm actually kind of pleased where this has wound up this session. We've definitely made good progress. Let's put the cap back on this because I will lose that cap. I've been doing this whole thing off camera, just yell at your computer screen. That's 100% fine. I deserve it. Not everything goes quite the way we want it to. It's kind of hard to keep track of the camera, what I'm working on, the material, not hitting myself with things, and getting it all right at once at the start. But I will say, I am kind of impressed with myself for the last couple sessions. I don't think I've talked about anything in my own life for once. I'm actually able to talk about the project I'm working on, which is kind of feels good for me. I can finally start doing that a little bit more. And I can keep talking about things too. It's not like I'm having super long dead time during the process. So I've been feeling pretty good about these last couple sessions. It means there's things I can talk about, which is awesome. Alright. Almost have this one done. Yeah, I thought about doing this in wire. I do have the galvanized steel stuff. My primer says it works on galvanized and whatnot, but I still think for the quality of painting that I'm going to be doing, having this in wood is going to be the way to go, just in case it doesn't really cover quite the same way. Whoop, there goes that. Okay, that actually has hardened a little bit on there, which is good. How much of this do I need? Pretty much the whole thing again. Okay, so with that, we're going to have this guy is going to come all the way up there. Let's put just a little bit of a mark right there. Give a little bit of a give a little bit of an indent right there so it has a little something to kind of rest on when I stick that in. We're going to pretend like this is going to work on a first try again, which really is just get glue on here and then just sit it aside, let it percolate and do its own thing. Okay, so if we're in there, let's add a drop more glue there, add a drop more glue on the bottom, and then just sit that aside. We can see that's kind of what we're getting. We're getting a little bit of that mechanical look going. So I can now set that aside. We can do, realistically, I'm not sure how many. I think I can just do, it would be nice to have 4 of these things. I see time-wise that's not really going to happen. So I think I'm just going to give this thing a second here to dry so I can kind of put it together. At least this gives the profile of when this is together of how it's supposed to work. Let's go ahead and move some of these things out of the way. And this is kind of where we're going to be calling this session. Let me just get, like I said, some of this stuff I don't need anymore. You I kind of do. That's the leg I just did. We don't need this thing anymore to kind of hold the whole platform up, so that's awesome. And really, I don't need to put the globe back on here, but putting this part on really makes a visual difference. So I kind of like putting this thing on. Yeah, all of a sudden everything is coming together, and I'm feeling kind of super pleased on that. It's been a process, but it's all starting to come together. Okay, so we have that in there. Let's get this leg goes up here. At least this one kind of stays. This one, again, we're going to need to... That one will 100% be glued on when we get to that point. For sure. As we look at this guy, we now have that there. We can see the knee. Again, we're going to have a couple more of those little guys on there, but this gives the idea of what that is. We will have, you are going to be coming up in there. We'll deal with that when I get to it. Whoop, and I didn't mean to pick up this whole thing and drop all the stuff. Now, to give the actual look, we have that there. So, it's coming together. It is coming together. We are getting a pretty freakishly cool looking object here. I'm liking it. I'm loving this whole thing. Come down on top, and it looks great. Still looking forward once we get to painting phase, I'm gonna be super happy. Once we get into painting phase, we're really, really happy. But yeah, no, this is coming out. This is coming out pretty okay. Kind of wish my backdrop wasn't the exact same color as the wood, but that's an entirely different story and situation. But that is where we are, and next time we will probably go and start and try to figure out the foot down here and get that going, and it should be good. Hopefully it will. I know it will. It's got to be. But until then, and until next time, enjoy.